What's up, guys? It's Cat, and in today's Battlecats video, I'm ranking normal units on whether they're overrated, underrated, or if they're fairly rated by the Battlecats community. And just a disclaimer, being overrated doesn't make a unit bad, just like being underrated doesn't make a unit good inherently. It just means that these units are either rated too highly, too low, or just in the middle. So let's get right into the video. And starting things off, we have the normal cat, and I think normal cat is slightly underrated. I'll put all three forms there. And the reason I say this is because the normal cat only costs 75 cents. And in a world dominated by eraser cats and specialist meat shields, it's really easy to miss out on this unit. And I'm not saying it's the greatest meat shield in the game, and it isn't, but for 75 cents in really tight money stages, it could be a phenomenal pick for you, as well as its crazed and little counterpart, which his little counterpart only costs 45 cents, but that should be one of the next videos, me ranking Lil Cats by whether they're overrated or underrated. But I believe normal cat is slightly underrated due to the price and the effectiveness it does. It's a boring cat, but it does its job. And, I love Eraser and everything. Let's see. So I'm going to put the first two forms in fairly rated because I think the first two forms, when you're really early in the game, you really don't have any better unit in terms of meat shields. You don't have any options, and he does everything perfectly when you're in early game. And even in middle and late game, he's a phenomenal meat shield, but I do think the true form is slightly overrated. And I know this is a hot take, but I say this because there are many good specialist meat shields in the game. You have Future Cat, you have Ramen Cat, you have all these cats that take care of their own niche. So if you bring a few of them in, then all of a sudden he somewhat becomes outclassed because he doesn't fit the role as well as they do because they're specialized against certain targets. In terms of a generalist lineup, then Eraser would not be overrated. In a generalist lineup, he's a great meat shield and he deserves all the recognition he gets. But especially in Uncanny Legends and beyond, you have specialty meat shields which have a niche and they outperform Eraser Cat at their niche. They usually cost a little bit more too, though, so keep that in mind. If it's a really tight stage, then bring in Wushu Cat might not be affordable, or bring in Ramen Cat may be too much. But that's my take on Eraser Cat. Probably the most controversial one in the video. Moving on, and yeah, this one's going to take me about 10 seconds. Axe Cat, Dark Cat, and Brave Cat, they all belong in fairly rated because 99% of the Battlecats community agrees that they're trash. And to the 1%, or maybe there's more or less, I don't know. But if you're a huge fan or a huge supporter of Axe Cat, please let me know down below in the comment section. The design's cool, but other than that, he's crap. Had to get a sip of water. Moving on, we have Gross Cat here. And I want to say that Gross Cat is also fairly rated. That also goes with macho legs, and that's because solid stats all around, solid unit, decent anti-alien niche, and isn't way over the top in terms of stats or performance, but just a good solid unit. And especially if you're in early game, then you're probably putting him in your lineup because of the middle long range support that you don't get a ton of until maybe you get Valkyrie. So valuable unit there. You're probably using him with Dragon Cat, and you're probably stacking both of them and having a support system for your backlines. So that's it for that. Now, this is an interesting one. And actually, I'm going to change this a little bit to slightly underrated. And they do get outclassed, but for a lot of the early part of the game, Lion Cat actually does a pretty solid job at kamikazing, at rushing, at time score stages. Into the future, those time score stages, you could easily cook the early ones with him, and he'll get you everything, and that can get you off your feet. He could be used as a substitute in certain restrictions. He's not a great unit. I would give him like an 80 at best out of an 100 scale, but at the same time, if you don't have access to his crazed counterpart, then he's a viable solution. He isn't horrible. He has good speed. He just doesn't do what his crazed version does. Now, once you get the crazed version, then he falls back to earth, and he's not very good, and you're almost never going to use him after that. So, you know, early game, yeah, maybe underrated, but you know what? So I'll do this. I'll put the true form in fairly rated because you're not going to get to use it a whole lot after you get Manic Lion Cat because Manic Lion Cat is better. More speed, just does his job better. You know, he's all speed, some health, a little bit of damage, and but yeah, his speed is the selling point. And once you get a unit faster than him that does the same thing, he's obviously better. So yeah, first couple forms might get swept on a little bit for time score or whatever, but yeah, true form falls back to earth. Moving on from that, I have another fairly rated set of units right here, and that is going to be the Bird Trilogy. And the Bird Trilogy is bad, really bad. Almost as useless as Dark Cat, but not quite. Only because it has better stats, and I don't know. It's somewhat usable in Empire of Cats, and after that, that's about it. Really not a whole lot to offer there. Unfortunately, because the design is dope, but yeah, they're gonna they're gonna stay in fairly rated. Unfortunate. This is interesting. I'm probably gonna put these fish, whale, and island. I'm gonna put them in fairly rated as well. And the reason I put them in fairly rated is because similarly to Gross Cat, you know, they're solid units. They perform their niche decently well, but then again, they kind of get outclassed by their mana counterpart because the mana counterpart not only costs a lot less, but is generally the better solution in terms of stats and everything. So, yeah, almost half the price really does outclass it there. But for a good chunk of the game, you could use him as a reliable anti-red Uber, as an anti-red support unit, and you know he just gets replaced by the next one, which is Manic Island. Pretty solid unit. And let's see, Dragon, I'm going to say slightly underrated just because of the amount of strategies you could use with Dragon Cat. But, you know, when I say slightly, I mean very slightly. Just a tick below fairly rated. And I think for the most part, he's fairly rated. But as I said, there's some stages that you could Dragon stack that are crucial. The most famous example, I believe, is you could use him for Empire of Cats Chapter 3 Moon. You could fight Bun Bun off with him. And in a time of really no Ubers. You're not going to have many Ubers unless if you've had a lot of luck in the gotcha sector. But if you're having horrible luck and you just can't beat Bun Bun, then Dragon Cat, you know, stacking Dragon could get you past that insanely difficult accomplishment. He can get you that insanely difficult accomplishment. And then you could take that going forward and you could build some momentum. So, you know, that's the number one most quit stage in the game. And he could prevent you from having to quit. Other than that, though, yeah, he's pretty balanced, but he has some opportunities to shine. Not just him, but his manic counterpart as well. Let's see, Chimera's. All right, I'm gonna put Titan and let's see. These two will go in fairly rated, but when Chimera gets his times two stat boost, he gets his knockback. I think he gets a niche of his own. You know, he becomes this pusher, and he's kind of like Mecha Bun in my opinion. But the difference is Mecha Bun's twice the cost. You get him when he's irrelevant, and he doesn't have any time to shine. But Chimera's kind of the opposite. He's pretty cheap for his stats at less than 2,000 cents in a normal economy. And on top of that, he has knockback, and you could use him in a lot of lineups. His stats are sometimes a liability. They're not always the strongest. There's sometimes better units you could use. But yeah, you could use him with a sniper. You could use him paired with a slow beam or something, and he can cook. So his cheap stats, his fast reload, and yeah, good stats. He's pretty cheap and he has a fast reload speed. So it's all pretty useful and it all makes a good combination. He's still not an A or an S tier, but I think he's a solid, I don't know, maybe a B minus or a B. Solid unit, and yeah, he definitely does fall off later in the game, but he has a usage that doesn't always get recognized. And even in late game, he still has strategies that he thrives in. And the one I know the least about because I don't have it true formed is Super Feline, but Super Feline is a powerful anti-relic attacker, and the big problem with him is that you need him to become level 100 before he gets his true form. And I wanted his true form. When I saw I was at 20 plus 9, I thought I was going to get his true form, but that's not the case. Um, but very powerful stats, true form against relics. Kind of like an IDI in a way. Or if you guys know how to pronounce that better than me, please let me know down below in the comments. IDI is a very powerful anti-relic rusher, and Super Feline is similar in terms of being cheaper, but also having the rushing characteristics and the insane amount of damage it could produce against relics with Omni Strike. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna say I should have put a mystery tier here because I don't really notice what this True Form's potential has to offer, but I'm gonna put him in fairly rated because I think that he is a very good unit, but the point in which you get him, it makes sense. You need him to be very strong, or you're not going to do very well in Uncanny Legends. But this is my tier list on overrated versus underrated normals, where I know the only slightly overrated one is Eraser Cat, but he's also by a mile the best unit on this list, so don't get too offended by that. And then a ton of fairly rated, which I think the community does a good job with a consensus of, and we have some slightly underrated as well. But if you guys enjoyed the video, learned anything, you guys have anything to think about anything, consider liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. It's free, but more importantly, it helps grow our channel, and it allows me to help produce good Battlecast content. Hopefully you guys think it's good. But yeah, also, if you guys agree, disagree on anything, have any thoughts, leave it down below in the comment section. I'll read every comment, and, I'll respond where necessary. But Sparring Cat signing off, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.